Hey guys, welcome back to Young Americans Abroad, your best place for weekly content on young American soccer players playing overseas. My name's Austin Van Trent.
And my name's Patrick Ferry.
And welcome to our show. Well, guys, this is a very special episode today, and why would that be, Pat?
And Austin, it is our 1-year anniversary for Young Americans Abroad.
Woo! That's right. Big episode today.
Big episode, Austin. There's been a lot that's happened this past year with our show evolving, and also a lot of the player pool as well.
That's true, yeah. Some could question whether, right now for the U.S. men's national team, whether we're ahead from 1 year ago, but, hey, we're still at it.
That's right, Austin. We're here to report all the time.
That's right. So we just want to take, time to thank you guys for all your support over the past year. And, thanks for following us on Twitter, Instagram, subscribing on YouTube, commenting on our videos. And, we're going to hopefully make year number 2 even better. Right, Pat?
That's right, Austin. There's many more to come from us and the national team. But, speaking of our Young Americans Abroad, I know it's been a pretty busy weekend, Austin.
That's right. Yeah, we had one player make his Bundesliga debut this week, and that was a very long-awaited Bundesliga debut. And also we had something else happen too, Pat, right?
That's right. We had one of our great center backs get out of a troubling time into the championship right away in the side, starting immediately.
That's right. Yeah, he's looking to test himself this time a little bit more. But, so let's get into our episode. All right, guys. So the first player we want to talk about today is none other than Tyler Adams. And Tyler actually made his long-awaited Bundesliga debut, starting for RB Leipzig in their 4-0 win over Fortuna Düsseldorf this weekend. And, Pat, what a performance it was from him. He was really impressive on the day.
That's right, Austin. Yeah, he was all over the field and crunching tackles. And, again, it looks like, we saw a lot of the game. RB Leipzig just kind of ran away with it. They absolutely destroyed destroyed him there.
Dude, right from the start too. They didn't even give Dusseldorf time to breathe. They were really impressive in this game, and Tyler was a big reason why they were impressive. Like you said, he was very strong in a lot of his tackles, especially in the first half, and he just played very quick with the ball because that's what RB Leipzig has done all season. And that's why, they're in the top 5 in the Bundesliga and in a Champions League spot, I believe, at the moment, in 4th. But Tyler just came in this game and seamlessly fit into what they do well, and that's attacking with pace. And
that's right, Austin.
Attacking with a quick tempo.
Yeah, and just kind of like you mentioned, how he gelled and fit in so well. I found that so interesting that he joined the team very recently, and it seems like either
first week of January.
Yeah, it just seems like his skills over in with New York Red Bulls over to over in the Bundesliga, it was a really quick transition. Either he's really that good, or the MLS isn't as far behind as we thought.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think some people have alluded to this online, saying that, the New York Red Bulls and RB Leipzig play very similar styles. And obviously Jesse Marsch is over at Leipzig right now. So that might have had a, good effect on why he's transitioned so quickly. But, I think it's still a big task or a big ask for a player to come in a short amount of time and, fit in so well like he did in this game. He really just was very impressive. And it was only, his first Bundesliga appearance. So I was very impressed, Pat, and I know you were too because we watched the game together.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, it was fun to be able to have you down here in Florida, Austin.
It was great.
But also, yeah, it's just again, like you mentioned, it just seemed like not only did Tyler gel really well, but I think we've been seeing in training. We've touched on it a little bit too. He's been really kind of demanding the ball in training. You can see him kind of being more vocal out there right away, which is definitely a nice presence to have. And he's also mentioned, side note, that he could see himself as a U.S. captain in the future. So it does really seem like he has those qualities to thrive in Europe and be a leader.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, he's got very similar characteristics that we've seen from Weston McKennie and also Christian Pulisic, where they have that mentality going into a new environment or a different team setting, team atmosphere, that they got to prove that they belong. So Tyler definitely embodies that mentality. So they'll definitely help him out.
Yeah, and Austin, what did you think? Because I know we also don't want to backtrack too much to our old episodes, which you all should check out again. But do you think, because I know we thought Tyler Adams wasn't going to immediately get in right away. I believe there's a few episodes back where we thought he'd be obviously involved in the first team, but just impressed to see him start so quickly, whether it were injuries or certain things. But it just seems like this transition was so fast to what we originally predicted.
Yeah, so definitely going to, own up to my predictions. But I thought, coming in that he was definitely going to have a good battle going into, the spring portion of the Bundesliga season, just because, like we said in those past episodes, RB Leipzig play a very small amount of players. Their squad size is not too big. So I thought, going into his first ever time overseas or abroad, it was going to take some time to settle, get integrated into the culture there in Germany, and then also just, get integrated into a faster style of play in the Bundesliga. But like we saw this weekend, he came right into this game and looked up for the challenge. So he's, exceeded obviously my prediction, but he's exceeded, a lot of the stigmas of players moving abroad and other players just moving into a whole different environment. So, fair play to him. That just shows he's, a truly unique and special player, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Austin, and I'm excited to see much more of him in the Bundesliga.
That's right. And I was just going to say, this weekend, RB Leipzig actually play Hanover, and Hanover is not doing so well at the moment. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw another start from Tyler Adams, to be completely honest.
Poor Hanover and Bobby Wood there.
That's right. Hey, maybe we'll see Sebastian Soto make that Bundesliga debut by the end of the season. But
that'd be a dream.
We'll see. Hanover just bought a striker in this winter transfer window, so that's more competition for him and Bobby.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's not good.
Yeah. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, and we'll keep you guys updated with Tyler Adams next week if he plays. If he doesn't play, we'll let you guys know. So now, Pat, let's go over to England and talk about another key U.S. men's national team player who got a move in this winter transfer window.
That's right, Austin, and that is none other than Miazga, one of Chelsea's loan army. One of their players there.
The ever-growing
loan army. But yeah, Miazga, thankfully was able to get out of that awful loan situation with Nantes, where he was kind of exiled by the new coach after a run of poor form. I just want to quickly mention there. And then now he finds himself at Reading, a team that actually is certainly struggling and in need of his defensive abilities as they're battling relegation in the championship there. Actually, also this past weekend started in a 1-1 draw. So it was kind of unfortunate because they were up 1-0 until right at the end of the game. I think it was Bolden that scored. I didn't see the final goal, but they tied it up right at the end, which is kind of unfortunate. So they're still sitting in that danger zone. But Miazga, from what I heard and saw online, played very well. He won all of his aerial duels, which isn't a surprise there.
No.
And had a 77% pass accuracy, so he's moving the ball well. And it's great to see him kind of get acclimated right away with just immediately going into a new loan and starting right away, Austin.
Yeah, I actually really like this move, to be honest with you, Pat. I think, just because Reading's in the relegation zone right now in the championship, I don't think they'll stay there for the rest of the season. I think some players that they have on that team, like John Swift, is a player that I'm familiar with. He's a pretty good player. Like, he's a player that should be in the high part of the championship, in my opinion. And just the fact that Reading has been a club that's had some success, whether that's getting promoted to the Premier League in the past, and just being around the championship playoffs when Danny Williams was there as well for promotion. So I think it's a good move for him. I think he's hungry now too, especially after that Nantes failed loan spell.
Yeah. Those are really good points you bring up too. Yeah, they definitely have, again, like you mentioned, certain players that have really good quality to pull them out of that zone. Again, I mentioned that black hole of the championship's hard to get out of, but
Well,
they can certainly do it. And definitely acquiring Miazga and looks like being a crucial part of them staying up and surviving is definitely an exciting prospect for him to get exciting game time, especially as the U.S. rolls on to some friendlies down the road in a few months than the Gold Cup. So I think Miazga is definitely in a much better environment and position than he was not so long ago.
Yeah, and maybe playing in the championship actually suits his playing style better, to be honest, because we've seen him be a little bit of a scrappy center back from his time with the men's national team. Obviously, you said he's very good in the air, so championship's a very physical league, and maybe that suits his play a little bit better than a league like the Bundesliga. Obviously, the Bundesliga is a little bit higher of competition, and we'd love to see him playing in a higher competition, but maybe this fits his playing style better and allows him to grow and get more minutes, obviously.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a really good point, because we have seen him exactly from Nantes. He struggled against some of the higher quality teams in France.
He got a lot of yellow cards.
A lot of yellow cards. Just the skill moves, I guess, and the pace and some of the runs of the attackers there, as opposed to, again, maybe like you mentioned, grinding out in a more physical championship league where you're constantly battling and shoving people off the ball and winning aerial duels. So maybe this will be good for his confidence there.
Yeah, let's hope. He's going to play a big part no matter what, I think, so in our future.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's definitely one of the, if not, one of the top 2 or 3 center backs that we have in the pool right now. I know obviously there's a few others coming up, and we'll touch on them later with CCV, but even EPB kind of struggling a little more. Miazga definitely needed this loan to kind of, again, not so much slip out of that spot, but just really kind of reconfirm that he is still one of our top center backs, and that he can survive after moving from New York Red Bulls over to the dangerous waters of Europe and all those loan moves.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. But so shifting away from the defensive side and going to one of our exciting young attackers, also in the Bundesliga.
That's right, and that would be Josh Sargent. So Josh came on for the final 22 minutes of Werder Bremen's 2-2 draw with Eintracht Frankfurt this weekend. And I got to say, Pat, in this performance, it was a very frustrating performance. That's the way I would put it. He didn't get really any good chances to score in this game. He had a few nice moments of hold-up play where he was able to dish the ball off and get out of trouble, but he also did lose the ball a decent amount. So I thought, all in all, this was probably his worst performance of the season. Obviously, we've had such a small sample size, and he scored goals this year in his other performances. So, I thought that was I wouldn't say disappointing this weekend, but it obviously wasn't as good of a performance as he's had this year. So just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, and what do you? I guess obviously such a small sample size, maybe just one bad performance, but I guess my concern, would that maybe lead the head coach there to kind of maybe push him back in the pecking order? Is that too early to tell right now? Or are there any kind of other strikers, do you think, that could leapfrog him a little bit here?
Well, it depends. So it's a good question. So Milo Rashika, I think that's how you pronounce his name, is a player who's more of like a winger for Bremen, was actually injured for this game, so he wasn't on the team or in the team this weekend. So he's definitely a player who I think could, if he was in the 18, maybe jump over Josh Sargent and kind of play in that attacking front three, or I don't know. Werder Bremen are very liquid up front, so a lot of times they'll have their strikers move out wide, and they actually did that with Josh in this game, moved him out to the right towards the end of the game when Claudio Pizarro came on. So I think maybe a player like that, if he's on the bench next game or in the starting lineup, and someone like Martin Harnick is on the bench, then maybe they might be the first option off the bench for an attacker. So yeah, kind of. I think maybe you could slip down the pecking order a little bit, to answer your question in a short way. But I think so far we've seen Josh show good things when he's been on the pitch. And don't get me wrong, this performance wasn't probably as bad as I'm making it out to be. but it just wasn't as impressive to me of a performance as some of his other ones. So, yeah, just, wanted to throw that out there again. Don't want to get too pessimistic on Josh, because I think, he's definitely our striker of the future, and I think he definitely is going to have a. Yeah, we have to be high on him at this point. There's not really too many other players coming up, at least at the moment. Maybe Sebastian Soto. So.
And you think maybe just a little, maybe a little more time, just kind of building his strength. Obviously he's still very young, kind of in the weight room and developing into obviously a more get that solid kind of striker's frame might help him.
Yeah, that's been the one thing I've been a little unimpressed with in his performances so far for Bremen. When he's gotten on the pitch, he has gotten pushed off the ball a lot more than I thought he would. Because he's, for his age group, he was a pretty good size striker. I wouldn't say he's a big striker, but he had a good frame to him. And right now, when he's playing in the Bundesliga, he looks a little small coming up against some of these center backs that he's playing against, and he has lost the ball in each of his games, a few times per game, where I would expect a little bit more of him. But again, that's not to say that he's not, this good prospect that we have, and doing good things in the games when he comes on. But I've been a little bit unimpressed with his physicality so far. So yeah, maybe he could work on his frame a little bit. The other thing in this game, and again, it's just such minor little details that we're picking out here, but by the end of his cameo for Bremen, and by the end of the game, he looked very, very worn out, because he does do a lot of tracking back, and he has done that in his substitute appearances this year. Which is a good thing, and I think it's showing that whenever he comes on the pitch, he's willing to work for the team and play in any position and defend as hard as he needs to get the win, or
right, not a lack of effort.
And he does get back a lot, but in this game he looked very tired by the end of the game, where he was kind of jogging forward and not super active in those final few minutes when Werder were trying to make a push, which we've seen so far in his career. He's not a winger, obviously, and he's that poacher, that number 9 that stays in the box and kind of moves around and gets in the right positions. He's not really a striker that loves to. I guess he does like to come back and connect from time to time and link the attack, but he's not a striker that really likes to wander around the pitch and go out on the wing and move around. Right. He likes to stay central. So that's again minor details or minor things that maybe he needs to work on in the future, and I think he's still got a great future, so I'm not too worried.
Completely agree, Austin. Right there with you.
Yeah. So I guess let's move on now, and we'll go over to England, Pat, and tell us about a player who's really taking advantage of his opportunities right now.
That's right, and that's none other than Duane Holmes, and for Derby County, and he actually had the lone assist this past weekend in the FA Cup action in a 1-0 win for Derby there. So again, just to kind of describe the goal a little bit. Or the assist, per se.
Okay.
It was kind of initially off of a corner, and Duane Holmes kind of ended up with it outside the 18 there and in the corner, and was able to kind of have some really shifty moves onto his left and burn the outside right back and then another player. And again, found his way more closer to the 6-yard box, tried to kind of play it across, and somehow the defender tackled it, kind of pinged around almost like a
pinball.
Yeah, exactly, like a pinball. It's the best description. And one of the strikers from Derby just pounced on it and finished it. But that was all created by Duane Holmes again, and we've really seen him improve and step up his game. Like we mentioned the last episode, where he got his first goal there. In the last 2 league games, he's been starting, so you can kind of see Lampard putting some really good trust in him, Austin. And again, this showed again in a crucial FA Cup game. Duane Holmes got to start and proved to make a huge impact and be that difference maker Derby County needed.
Yeah, that's really encouraging to hear that now he's kind of becoming a consistent starter for Derby. And like you were talking through that sequence there, that was really impressive from the video I saw. I don't know if we'll be able to show it because of FA Cup copyrights. We've been getting into some issues recently. On that. But yes, that was I really was impressed when I saw that on Twitter. So good stuff in from Duane.
Yeah, it's awesome just to see him catching a great form here. And again, Derby being involved still in the Cup action here, as well as pushing for that Premier League, fight that we've been mentioning before. Just to have Duane Holmes be a key contributor is pretty important with a lot of these U.S. Friendlies and the Gold Cup coming up in the future. Maybe we'll be able to see him kind of sneak onto one of the rosters here. And also just want to mention too, Austin, about kind of the tactics. He's been used, I think I looked in the last 2 games, Derby's been playing a 4-3-3, and he's been playing kind of in that left side of the attacking 3 there. But he always kind of finds himself shifting into the middle. He likes to kind of cut inside and slice through defenders, and I believe he's actually played kind of in a number 10 role as well. But the last 2 games he's been played kind of that outside left wing, I guess, position you could say, and is looking pretty dangerous.
Yeah, that's what. I heard he can kind of play in the middle. He's kind of a cam, but that's interesting that they're playing him out on the left wing. We could always use wingers who are creative. So I love.
Yeah, right. Kind of. Exactly, awesome. More almost like a really dynamic utility player, and like I've mentioned before, his speed and his ability and awareness to make those really good runs and time those perfectly, along with his dribbling skills, could suit him not only in the middle of the pitch but also kind of when they put him out in the flank here for Derby. So again, a lot of the fans love Duane Holmes. They want to see more of him, and so do we. So hopefully he'll continue to get some starts.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Like we've said before, and like we just said, we want to see him in a U.S. men's national team jersey. So hopefully, in March when the next round of friendlies come around, maybe he's on the roster.
That's right, Austin. But just wanted to kind of again maybe bring back to another new, I guess you could say, a little segment of the what is it, Austin?
We're calling all these Americans that are playing in Scotland our Scottish Yankees.
Scottish Yankees, woo!
So we got another Scottish Yankee for you guys, and that would be Matt Polster, who just had his move confirmed. He'll be moving to Rangers from Chicago Fire, Pat. And I guess, do you want to tell us a little bit more about Matt to start us off?
Yeah, I could touch on it a little bit. So just to, again, go back to the Chicago Fire days. He actually was there from 2015, just recently, 2018. I think he had over 83 appearances for the Fire, and definitely was a crucial player there. And you kind of saw, as through the time went on, he got his first U.S. cap, I believe, in 2018. But unfortunately, Austin, what has kind of maybe not derailed his career, but this past year has had some kind of really serious, rough knee injuries, which has kind of kept him off Sargent's crazy experimentation with the young players and trying out new people in different systems, as well as the Fire season. So he kind of faded a little bit, Austin, but this is a really good sign and a great move that he wants to test himself in Europe.
Yeah, and I don't think we've mentioned yet, and we probably should, that he's a right back and played right back for Chicago Fire. But I mean, he's had his issues with injuries, that's for sure. But he's always been kind of a dynamic right back, a dynamic defender. He's more of an attacking presence when he's been in games for the Chicago Fire. He likes to get forward. He is a little bit inconsistent, but with that being said, he was, in my opinion, and my opinion doesn't count for much, I thought he was one of the better right backs in the league. And like I said, the difference-making ability he provided offensively going forward was, I think, a big reason why I would say that. This move will be interesting for sure. Testing himself, like you said, Pat, is definitely a good sign, and hopefully will help our pool.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, he had just, obviously, we were filming this on Wednesday, so officially confirmed on Wednesday. But I think there's a little interview he had just talking about, I found it kind of interesting. He was talking about the club, the fans, the stadium, and was really impressed by everything. And there's a little segment that he really did want to kind of prove himself in Europe and compete at the highest level that he could and kind of further his career. And while I believe, Austin, is he 25, I think? I believe 25. So definitely kind of coming into those prime years where hopefully he can get on this and push Rangers to be at the top of Scotland's league again, and really competing with Celtic. Gerrard's got them in a good form. Did very well throughout the Europa League competition and kind of staying up pace with the leaders in Scotland. So it'd be great to kind of see Matt make an impact with kind of his dynamic abilities and outside in the right there.
Yeah, and I mean, we won't have too long to talk about him, I guess, since he is 25. But hopefully, he gets integrated with that Rangers team, and we'll make some appearances here coming up in the spring.
Right, a proud young American abroad graduate.
That's right. Yeah, we've had a few this season, like Bobby Wood, John Brooks. They both turned 26 this year. So hopefully in the future we shrink this age down to 23. We have a lot of graduates, but
yeah.
Until maybe next year or two, we'll see what we're working with for players in that under 23 age range. But so we just wanted to bring up Matt Polster. We're excited about the move, another American in Scotland team. But so now let's go back to England, Pat, and talk about a player in the Premier League. And who would that be?
That's right, Austin. That is Deandre Yedlin. Another dynamic outside back that we have.
That's true, yeah.
The full 90, Austin, in a 2-1 win. Surprising 2-1 win over Man City.
Big win.
A big
especially
win.
For you.
That's right, yeah. As a Liverpool fan, unfortunately we drew Leicester today, but hey, it's still a point ahead of City. Losing to Newcastle is definitely a huge setback for them. But yeah, just to, again, touch on a proud American's performance. We want to mention first, Raheem Sterling kind of burned him in the initial moments, the first few minutes of the game, where he kind of took one-on-one, cut back, and then a beautiful kind of curler shot.
It was a nice goal.
It was a really nice goal. So can't really blame it solely on him, but also he was the one kind of covering him. But he really made up for Austin with the rest of the match, shutting down Leroy Sané, taking the ball off him a few times. And he really showed throughout that match why Benitez really trusts him to be that starter on the right side there, and has looked really good at times against some top 4 quality opponents in the Premier League, showcasing why Yedlin is one of our strongest players, I think. Yeah.
No, it was an impressive performance. I was only able to watch a little bit of this game, but from what I saw on Twitter, and then I saw the highlight video, I think that went around too. He looked pretty good in the game. So that's definitely good to see against a team that obviously is kind of struggling right now in Man City, but a team that's full of superstars and shut down a bright young star in Leroy Sané. So.
Yeah, that's right, Austin. And there's been some concerns where we've seen Yedlin kind of have some inconsistent games against those kind of really pacey winger players. But
you've seen him get burned by Man City before.
That's right, we have. He's been in the film room studying.
Yeah, that's definitely good to hear. Good to see.
But no, just want to bring up, Austin. That a lot of people have been kind of saying, Yedlin isn't maybe one of our strongest backs anymore, kind of almost forgotten as the general Twitter kind of soccer atmosphere public, in my opinion, has kind of put Yedlin kind of on the side there. But I think this game, again, kind of reconfirms, along with the other games that he's had, he's one of our most consistent, especially YAA players that we talk about, and one of the consistent players in the player pool who's playing at the highest level, the best league in the world, in my opinion.
We might have some haters call you out on that one.
I know, I might have some haters, but again, you really have to give credit to Deandre Yedlin, coming over from the Sounders, having some moves from Tottenham to Sunderland and now Newcastle. But again, his path has led him to being a consistent Premier League defender, Austin. I think that really says something and merits something.
Yeah, you can definitely argue he was somewhat of a trailblazer for our generation, or this this generation that's coming up, to go over to England from the MLS and kind of make his way over there. Obviously, that trail has been blazed in the past by a lot of former U.S. men's national team players, but he was the first one to really do it for a decent amount of time. It seemed like in this recent history. So. He definitely did. That his success in the Premier League, let me put it this way, his success in the Premier League is definitely very important, and it definitely shows that, you know, he's a player that should be looked upon as maybe not a I'm going to say I think a consistent starter for our men's national team. You know, no matter like what formation we really play, I think our formation should sort of be decided by the players we have, and I think he's a player that you need to kind of find a way to include in your starting lineup every game.
Yeah, I kind of, I agree with you on some of the points there because, yeah, like you mentioned, he's one of our top players, I think, in my opinion, too. And that his pace and his kind of ability to obviously track back, but also push up and really kind of, I guess, you know, good on the counters and bring that kind of, again, dynamism. Butchered that word, but you can see Yedlin is such a crucial piece to a lot of teams, and Newcastle and Benitez has been using him, you know, really well. And that the U.S.
Right.
certainly kind of take some lessons that Newcastle has and you know, apply it to the national team. So,
well, we don't want to take too many of those lessons, but
yeah, not too many of those lessons.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, they've seemed to get, you know, a lot of good play out of him, whether it's, you know, sometimes inconsistent or not. They've seemed to gotten good play out of him, you know, in the past 2 years. So
right, but yeah, let's again hope Deandre Yedlin continues, builds off this Man City game and helps Newcastle avoid relegation there and keep staying in the Prem.
Yeah, Newcastle should be getting you know, reinforcements from the MLS here, a reinforcement from the MLS. So that'll be also
from Atlanta. Yeah.
It's unfortunately something we won't be covering on our show, but yeah. So I guess now we want to go over to two players to end this segment today, Pat. And those two players would be Keaton Parks and Juan Pablo Torres. So just want to mention them real quick and mention that, you know, they're heading back home, right, Pat? They're going back to America.
That's right, back to America in search of some first team soccer.
That's right. Yeah, not football anymore. It's soccer. So yeah. So both are moving back to NYCFC. Excuse me. I'm jumbling my words. And Keaton Parks' move is only a 1-year loan deal, so that'll take place for the entirety of the MLS season, and then he'll go back to Benfica unless another agreement is reached in December. And then Juan Pablo Torres' move is a permanent move from Sport Lockeren to NYCFC. So, you know, I guess we can take it case by case, Pat. What do you think? Would you think this is a good move for Keaton Parks?
Yeah, I think Austin, for Keaton Parks, it's a really good move. He definitely is at that crucial age of 21, I believe now, where he needs to be playing consistent first-team football or soccer. Sorry, no, but yeah, he had a good path, and again, has been learning a lot at Benfica, being with the second team there in the academy, but. Also, I just think at this point, Benfica has a lot of young players, a lot of young stars in the ranks.
Yeah, for sure.
They're kind of a little ahead of Keaton Parks in some senses. He's still kind of toiling away and with Benfica too. So being able to cement himself in a solid NYCFC team and a good MLS league, I think would be a really good step in his career.
Yeah, I got to agree with you, Pat. I think, you know, kind of like you said, I think his opportunity kind of came and went with Benfica, unfortunately. And I think it is time to start playing, you know, first-team football or soccer on a regular basis. And, you know, I think at NYCFC they've had a lot of turnover this offseason. So, you know, I think his chances are pretty good of getting good minutes this year. We'll have to see what their manager, Dome Torren, you know, how he decides to use him this year. I think he likes a lot of those skillful players who are comfortable on the ball and like to create from deep. So it kind of fits in the Keaton Parks' wheelhouse a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, yeah, he could really kind of reignite, or I guess kickstart his first team career. And like you mentioned, we saw some glimpses of him not only when we were in Philly with the U.S. national team, but also just kind of, again, picking up some highlights with Benfica and getting some appearance with the first team. He really does have some good skills and a clever ability. So it'd be exciting to kind of see that more consistently and get a good run of form with the first team.
Yeah, for sure. Now, what do you think about Juan Pablo Torres' move? This is a player that we've been monitoring. We haven't really covered him too much in our episodes, but that's mostly because he hasn't really been getting any first team minutes in Belgium. But Pat, what do you think of this move for him? Was it a good move?
Right. Yeah, Austin. Honestly, it's kind of hard to say. I think I know we mentioned off air that if I'm pronouncing this right, Lockerin.
Yeah, I believe so.
Was kind of struggling there and possibly going down. So I don't think it would have been a good situation to be even just sitting on the bench in the second division of Belgium.
Right.
And going back to the United States maybe could help boost his stock, reignite his career again. So I guess it is kind of a positive move, but also, Austin, I know we haven't seen too much of him, at least game time. And I know, again, we talked off air about the U20s, and you were a little unimpressed with kind of some of his form there, if you wanted to touch on that too.
Yeah, I mean, so in that tournament, obviously the competition wasn't that high, and he didn't really do anything in that tournament that made me, kind of think that he had this big, bright future, I guess, ahead of him. So it'll be interesting to see what his U20 future holds for him. If he is actually called up for the U20 World Cup this summer, then maybe, we got it wrong and Tab Ramos knows better than us. But I didn't really see anything in that U20 CONCACAF tournament that really told me he was going to be a key player for the U.S. men's national team going forward, like in the future, obviously not, from now on. Yeah, I think it is a good move. Kind of like you said, I want to echo what you said because I agree with what you said. I think, he wasn't going to get playing time at Lockerin. So moving back to the MLS, excuse me, no the in front of it. But moving back to MLS, I think it's a good move for right now. He's got to prove himself. Obviously the European move didn't work out for him. So, now he's at NYCFC, and that midfield does have a lot of players in it. So if it's down to him, Keaton Parks, and maybe even James Sands, a player that we don't talk about because we don't cover MLS. It's three young players who are going to all be fighting for minutes that are in short supply. So
yeah, and
we'll see who wins out.
Yeah, and I guess being optimistic too, we have seen some players really struggle. Obviously completely different examples from the Steffens, and then even one of the players on DC United now, name slipping right now.
Oh, Chris Durkin.
Yeah, and just some of the players kind of struggle, but again, maybe a lot of it could reignite their careers here at NYCFC, and we could see some really promising things. And they're still young players. Maybe one of them goes back to Europe again, but you never know.
Very true. Yeah. So we just wanted to cover that these two players are kind of moving out of or moving away from Europe. So unfortunately, we won't be able to cover them since they're not abroad anymore. But yeah, so good luck to those guys.
All right, guys. If you've been watching with our 1-year anniversary, all you followers, Austin and I, this is our favorite segment, right?
That's right.
And it's none other than Quick Kicks.
So you could test Dwayne Miller. It's Altidore over the wall, and that one is in! Josie Altidore from a long way out. The opening goal for the United States.
And now, guys, to begin Quick Kicks, we're going to start over with the Scottish Giants and Tim Weah getting his first official start for Celtic over the weekend, playing 64 minutes in a 3-0 win over Hamilton. And he also, I want to mention, played 15 minutes today, coming off the bench on a 2-0 win against St. Johnstone.
Nice. And now moving over to England, we want to just let you know that Charlie Kelman came on in the 69th minute for Southend United and made another appearance for them in their 1-0 loss, unfortunately, to Luton Town in League One this weekend.
And heading over to the Netherlands, Sergino Dest was involved in an unfortunate red card in a brutal 3-1 loss for young Ajax against Volendam.
And going over to Germany, we just want to let you know that Kevin Lankford has moved from FC Heidenheim over to FC St. Pauli in the 2 Bundesliga.
And Gboly Ariyibi, another Scottish Yank, Austin, got some rave reviews in a 64-minute start and a great 1-0 win for Motherwell against Hibernian.
That's right, Pat. And finally, or I guess going back over to Germany, we just want to let you know that McKinze Gaines has moved on loan to FSV Zwickau in the 3 Liga in Germany from Darmstadt, SV Darmstadt, and will play for American manager Joe Enochs. So congrats to McKinze.
And some great news over in the championship, Austin, with Cameron Carter-Vickers in Swansea. Cameron Carter-Vickers has started his 2nd consecutive game. So great to see him getting some playing time. But unfortunately, they did draw 3-3 against Birmingham City.
And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel.
And also, just want to take some time from both of us at Young Americans Abroad.
That's right.
We really appreciate, with our first full year, all the support, the subscribers and the followers, and on our great social media channels, which you should check out, Instagram and Twitter. But we do appreciate all your interactive, your comments and your support and just interaction with us. It's been a trying year, Austin, or a few years with the U.S. not qualifying, but we are here to provide some light and support as our young players rise through the ranks.
That's right. Yeah, we can't thank you guys enough. We do this just for the fun we have in doing it, and then also for the support you guys give us. So thanks for sticking with us for a year. We're hoping to keep on and make this last a few more years. So
that's right.
Yeah.
And hopefully all this will lead up, Austin, to a very crucial time where what will happen one day as we're reporting slowly and slowly as the years go by.
That's right. I think when all this culminates in one thing, Pat, and that would be a World Cup win.